ABC drawbacks, or whatever crude natures or whatever that is. If he's pleased with me, then he would grant me, you know, a seat in Akshardham or whatever it is after, after I die. And if he's pleased with me, then I would have contentment and happiness in my life. So all these things are one way of saying that when we devote to God, it's predicated on some sort of gain, not necessarily material gain, but some sort of, you can say, spiritual gain or something like that. And that is one type of love and relationship with God. The other is where there is not, so to speak, any specific predicate, where we did dedicate and love God just as God is explained in the Vachanamrut, that it's just because you love him, that's why you would do X, Y, whatever he says, and you would always, all you care is just for pleasing him, but for not any specific gain. Kakaji also used to say that कि चार प्रकारनी मुक्ति पण जो ये नहीं, कि will, or the four different types of attainments, ये पण जो ये नहीं after. So there is a two classifications of love with God, very, very broad classifications. The one where, common sense dictates that unconditional love is sort of better, because it's not predicated on any desires, and maybe my interpretation of what Kakaji was saying was also that we want to have unconditional love with God, but unconditional love, if it is not perfected, or if it's not really there, it also takes away some sort of motivation. If there is a definite gain and predicate in mind, an objective in mind, then there is natural motivation, and there is natural follow through. That when we do things, okay, we have a vision of what we want, but when we try to just, let's say, go in this concept of unconditional love without any predicate or expectations, then it somehow takes away, if it's not, the love is not perfect, then it takes away that motivation. So I guess my struggle is that is any particular one preferred, or is it is any particular one preferred versus conditional versus unconditional, or and how, if one is preferred, then how do we develop that.
So, as usual, before I say, maybe somebody wants to share. Everybody understood the question? Okay. So,
Sajanand Swami Maharaj Ni Jai. There's a Vachanamrut in which Maharaj says that when we think of God or Gunatit Satpurus, Mota Purus, we should not think that I like him because he looks so handsome. We should not think that I like him because he has good qualities and stuff like that. And as you said, the motivation only works when in Ramayana there's a couplet that bhai bin preet hot nahi. You have to have some kind of desire to have love, because bhai means you have to have some kind of respect or some kind of control from somebody that you want to love them. It is right at the level when we are immature. Even in regular husband-wife relationship, in the beginning you have so many things that's going on. First of all, there is always uh, the concept of the outside pressures of the society and all, that you have to respect your husband or wife, and so on and so forth. And then there is when you have a common goal, then you have to follow, because you have to deal with each other all the time. So it's might as well do it nicely then, rather than fighting, and so on and so forth. So the concept of love, first of all, love itself is considered as a noble quality, right? Because love is I think we have talked about this before, that the motherly love is considered as the best in most of the literature and everywhere, because it takes one above the connection with one's own self. પોતાના ભોગે પણ જો બાળકોનું હિતું છે, તો એ ટાઈપનું લવ, કે where you don't even, you let go your own desire of survival things and all that, and you take care of other person. That's love. And that's why it is noble, that you come out of your own small circle of thing and you care for somebody else. As far as you said, what you said was that the kaam apda pura thai, whatever we have desires, shortcomings, that gets fulfilled, and for that we love in sense of devotion, that we want to devote to God because such and such things can get attained. And that's the only way we come in contact of, unless we have a extremely different sanskar, a very big sanskar, one will come in satsang only because of some kind of desire, either with it is a direct desire or indirect desire. Like indirect desire in a sense that you want to get for the betterment of oneself, rather than for requiring something or acquiring something, but for the betterment of oneself. So there are levels of why you would love. As far as maturity is concerned, once you get mature in your relationship with your then you don't have to love, it just happens. And that is the thing, that prapti and sthiti. Sthiti is when it is, period. There is no if, but, and so on and so forth. So when there is a sense of fulfillment, sense of, because you really don't need, how much do you need? You have a job, you have kids taken care of, whatever your desires are all fulfilled, then what? So there is no motivation anymore. But just because we have this body and these senses, we need some kind of attachment, and that attachment is the relationship with our living God, or Pratyakshat Purus. And so you like to stay with him, you like to hear his stories and all that. And that is the time we have to pass for eternity, because even when we are in Akshardham, that's what we do. So basically, when everything is calm and quiet, it's only a person who is totally fulfilled can stay fulfilled in that calm and quiet. The person who has any kind of tamasic or rajasic desires, or even good desires to uplift the whole world, would have problem when there is a calm and quiet. They won't be able to sit. So that is the જે આસન સિદ્ધ કરવાનું છે, that we fulfill the whole, once we remain in that situation, that we have fulfilled all the desires and all that, and then what? And that's the thing when there is no motivation. So people, like, let's say somebody wants to be a doctor and is a good doctor and he has been working as a doctor for a long time, but there comes a stage where that becomes a routine. There is not that kind of excitement anymore. The same way with actors and actresses and all that. That's why most successful people, when they have got all the desires that are fulfilled, have nothing to live for and they want to die. And that's the case why there are so many suicides at that level, like Elvis Presley or Marilyn Monroe or whatever. So basically, for us, in once we get detached from worldly desires, unless we have fulfillment and keeping ourselves busy with Leela of Satpurush and Prabhu and being, I don't know whether you have heard that bhajan, Dham Dhami Muktoni Sate, Muktoni Sate, જીવન જીવવાનું સૌભાગ્ય મને મળ્યું. એટલે જે આપણને સૌભાગ્ય મળ્યું છે, that is the fortune that we have here. If we are 220, 200, but with the same desire and same likes and dislikes, when we are together, we have fun. And when we have attained that kind of a higher taste of living, it's very hard to go back to the people. I mean, you can say that, okay, I'll go and sit with these people in the bar because I need to talk to them and all that. But then you can't leave there. You have to get out of there right away. The same way in the parties and all, when you see people enjoying, they have enjoyment and that's fine, but you really don't want to sit there. So that your taste is different. And we are lucky that we have this, our life, where we have got the connection, and that's the love. So કાકાજીનું જે હતું કે એક નહીં, બધા સાથે, એટલે મીન્સ કે પ્રભુ સાથે તમારો સંબંધ તો થવાનો છે જ, બિકોઝ એમણે કૃપા કરી છે. Because of his grace, we have that kind of connection with God, and we cannot love God unless he has already graced us. The second thing is that સત્પુરુષ સાથે બી એવી પ્રીતિ થવાની જ છે, પણ જ્યાં સુધી આપણને એકબીજાની સાથે સુહૃદભાવ અને એકબીજાની સાથે આનંદ નહીં આવે, and that anand can only come because when we know how big they are, how their own glory, like આપણા સત્સંગીઓની સાથે, એકબીજાના ભગવતી સાથે, when we have the glory, then when we meet each other, we want to smile. We don't have to smile, we just smile, we just feel happy. And so there is no what is God or what is good or what is not so good or attainable or not, I mean, desired for on our part. It is just that it just happens. It's a part of the process. Like right now, a newborn baby cannot connect with the mother. Then she starts focusing her gaze at the mother. Then she starts is more responsive, and then she gets into the system of understanding the connection and all that. The same way for us, at this stage, when we have already been so close to Mota Purus and been living with him for such a long time, because what is left to be desired now? Nothing. I mean, we are there, we are already there. So I think that's the kind of love is the fulfillment itself. Sajanand Swami Maharaj ji.
Sajanand Swami Maharaj ji. So Pintu, I think your question is, looking at unconditional versus kind of conditional love, and if the unconditional love, if it allows enough incentive to continue having that type of love, is that correct?
What I feel is when So then what is that makes me now, let's say wake up at 4 o'clock and do some, do bhajan or do dhun or do some seva, what is that going to motivate me to actually do something, Normally, if that is like, if that is something that you want, I feel that, I would be more motivated to get that thing, and that's why I would do all that stuff, But if there is no real want, and, what would motivate you? So that's sort of the question. So it's because when we, as Prashant explained, Kakaji, and a lot of the scriptural reference and based on to have love which is unconditional, where we don't even want there's 4 different things that Kakaji talks about: sarupya, form like God; samipya, proximity of God; salokya, to be in the abode of God; sarujya, to have the same sayujya, to have the same age as God.
Same connection, samadhi.
Right.
Sayujya means yoga. Yuj means yoga. Join.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same
Connection.
time connection, right? So we don't even want all of that, but we want to just devote to God for the sake of devoting, because that is just, the way I understand it, because there's just unconditional love, So if you take away all of these factors, like how do you even do anything, in satsang, in terms of seva or anything like that,
But isn't that the question, like with any kind of love, like that you think is unconditional? I mean, why would you do that in the first place? And I guess the essential motivation is to just make that other person happy, right? But then if you don't realize, if they're happy or not happy, then you're not getting that feedback loop.
It becomes extremely hard for, let's say, when you deal with God, because you really don't know, right? I mean, you have scriptural reference. Even it becomes now, even with Indra, it's very hard, because he doesn't express openly when he's happy and he's not happy. He knows something's really not happening, but do that. That's great, But what really makes him happy or not happy? It's not. I mean, if you ask him, yeah, I'm always happy, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm good, right? So it becomes very hard to assess,
Just one question is that you go to, I don't know which Motorola you are, but whatever Motorola you are in, you go to Motorola, right? When you are working, as you say that you go to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at work, and then 9 to 5 you are there. I mean, how many times in a day you think that you are doing something because you are going to get a job with a pay when at the end of the day? Not a once even, because it's an interesting thing, right? That's your, now it has become a habit actually, not even interest, it's a habit. And the same way in satsang also. Getting up in 4 o'clock in the morning and doing bhajan and all that, it is a habit to keep oneself busy, because we are in this body and we need to do something in this body. But je Rishi Muniyo tap karta hoye, they are in samadhi, and sometimes they don't even wake up once in month coming out of the samadhi. What must they be doing? So for us, it looks like kind of not understanding, because we are in this body. But when you think about your soul level, actually at soul level, none of this interest come in the place anyway, at soul level, right? Because our desires and everything is at mind level. At soul level, there is no desires or anything like that. And still, when you think about it, the soul is the Swaminarayan Dhun going on, or that understanding that Swaminarayan Bhagwan or our relationship with Dinkar uncle, that is always there. And whether we acknowledge that or not, it's there. Like, whether somebody says that you are Girish Bhai's son or not, doesn't matter. You are Girish Bhai's son, you are Girish Bhai's son. You are Vandan's brother, you are Vandan's brother. Now, it doesn't get accounted every time you do something. I mean, at your work, nobody knows you are Girish Bhai's son or Vandan's brother, but still, everybody knows you as a Virat, right? So, it may not be your recognition, but it's that there. The same way, our relationship and love with God is there. And because the more and more we feel that, we make it a point to feel that is the thing that gives us the fulfillment. That Brahmanand Swami's question was that apurnapanu ne kalpana. This is the apurnapanu in kalpana. Okay, when we need to do something, when we need to account for something, that is apurnapanu in kalpana. That is the imagination we are. But it's there. It's there. And the only way we feel it is that as even in our worldly relationship, unless we remain in contact with somebody, even though you have a lot of love and caring for each other, but if you are not talking to them once in a month or once in a year or something like that, the relationship gets a little bit diluted. But when we see them again, it comes up. So it's there, but dormant. Now it's our duty to keep our relationships alive and well. એટલે દરરોજ નવી નવી પ્રાર્થના, દરરોજ નવી નવી નવા નવા ભજન, દરરોજ એટલે એમ તારી મારી પ્રીત પુરાણી એટલે નિત્ય નિત્ય થાય સવાઈ. So that is the thing that we want to, that is only thing we need to do. That is the only thing we need to do when we are alive. Because that's the only thing we can do to make ourselves, I mean, not even, that is our existence. We don't exist without that. Sajanand Swami Maharaj.
You were saying something?
Saying Sajanand Swami Maharaj Nijay. No. But I mean, Harshanti, when you were giving the example of like work and things like that, I mean, you know, like if you work really hard, then and you work a lot, your expectation is that there is a reward at the end, right?
But
and if not,
fulfillment that becomes
but
the reward.
exactly. And so that's what I was thinking too when you were saying that, is that must be what the feedback loop is that inner peace, that fulfillment, all of that keeps the drive going,
also,
I
like,
guess.
you know, when you solve somebody's problem of, let's say, case of their allergy, and you make a regimen of diet and medication and all that, and it works for somebody, then it's really a good feeling. And that feeling is the one that is a fulfillment. Because, you know, job, no matter whether you are a janitor or not, you are going to get food on the table. But the higher jobs you have, the better that feeling, that yes. And then every day, whenever you have a new case, that interest to solve that problem, to get the fulfillment, that is really I know this for sure because, you know, I like to solve puzzles. And I mean, it's the crossword puzzles, let's say. Now, every time I solve a crossword puzzle, most of the time there are always 2 or 3 words that you don't get. And then you try different permutation and combination of the letters, and somehow, somewhere, even if you don't know whether that word is right or not, but it fits. And then you get the ting, yes, you've done that. I'm talking about on the iPad. So, and then you feel, hey, it's done. So, you know, that's it. I mean, I know sometimes that that's a waste of time, but it's not, because it keeps me really, I mean, it's just 10 minutes a day or something like that. But so that feeling of, in any job, like, you know, I make dinner for Pankaj, and sometimes he likes it, sometimes he doesn't like it. And I always ask him, is everything okay? I mean, is there anything wrong? He says that I know you make good food, and I don't have to say every day that, yes, it is a good food and thank you so much. But, you know, I know whether he didn't like that particular stuff or not. So that's the fulfillment. And the reward itself is mostly, even for the job, money and all that, it's a need. You get the pay, and but no matter whether how much you are paid, but if you are not happy at work, it's going to be a drudgery. And something you like, then your work becomes the same way in satsang. The thing is, what do you like? The one who has the style of bhajan would like, because there are so many nice bhajans, like our Mota Bhai. I mean, he really enjoys the bhajan. I mean, you can see he jhumi utha. I mean, he is so fulfilled by the bhajan. And sometimes that, I mean, he is 24/7 bhajan. But Modi Mummy, she cooks all the time. And see, it doesn't matter really to her anymore. she says that, "Bas, I just want to cook. It doesn't really matter to whom the food is going or whatever, but she cooks and sends it here, she's happy. Anywhere, whether it's this mandir, Daska mandir, or Willing mandir, anywhere, but she likes to cook. So they both, I have seen, that are at the stage where, I mean, they don't have to make money for living or anything like that. At that age, we both are about 80. And still, they are getting that fulfillment. I mean, in their whole life, they have not got that fulfillment in any other job. As a businessman, as a husband, wife, mother-in-law, whatever stages they have been. But this right now, I see them. And that's what I think is Akshardham for them. So that's the fulfillment. I'm sorry.
You didn't say it. Sajan and Swami Maharaj Ni Jai. So, sorry, we're talking about love and incentives? The incentives of love? No, I didn't mean it like that. Because I understood, I don't know. I just, I just want to make sure that I know what you're asking about.
On the topic, general topic, it's a very big concept. That's what I'm saying. I'm not being smart ass about it because it's a vague concept. So whatever you feel and what you think it's in that area. This is hard for me to crisply define that as well. So.
Sajan and Swami Maharaj Ni Jai. My own perspective, if we're talking about love, is that it's seems like the highest human feeling, or highest feeling that like humans can understand. And I think, that having divinity brings in a whole different aspect of it, or something, a whole different aspect for feelings, not necessarily love. But I don't know, when Bhagwan talks about love in Panchara 3, and he says, I'm just going to read it because I pulled it up. Or actually, even when we talk about some bhajans, and that's how he starts this, even when we talk about some bhajans, right? When it's like the gopis, and it's those prem bhajans, that's, Ningar Uncle always says it's like a C or D level bhajan. So it's not like the highest type of feeling necessarily, right? And Bhagwan also says, so here he says, they were singing bhajans, and then Sriji Maharaj spoke again. Now please stop the singing. The devotional songs that you have just sung are full of love. While you were singing, I pondered over the nature of love and realized that love is a great asset, and to worship God with love is commendable. And after deep thought, though, I realized love itself is the Maya of God. Why? Because if two women are casually talking to each other, looking at each other, or touching each other, then that is a different type of love. Or if two men are talking to each other, looking at each other, or casually touching each other, then that is also a different type of love. But if a man is looking at a woman, embracing her, listening to her talks, enjoying her fragrance, then the love and mental attraction he develops for her is such that that type of love does not develop between two men. Also, if a woman is looking at a man, embracing him, etc., then the love she develops for him through his association, with her mind being totally attracted towards him, is such that that type of love does not develop between two women. Therefore, that which is the cause of the perpetuation of the world, and that which causes bondage and the cycle of births and deaths, the Maya of God itself, takes the form of love. I don't know if that was all the forms of love, or is that. But I always thought that was, that paragraph is probably like one of my favorites in the whole Vachanamrita. But it's just, here he says it's like a way of making the world go round, but that's what it is, right? It's a way of connecting with someone, and it's a way of affection. I always think that from after coming into satsang, that we have been shown, I would think, more elevated ways of showing that, of showing of types of affection for each other, like nirdosh buddhi, some surat bhav ekta, and those have completely different aspects. They are, without expectation, without condition. Those have the higher focus of wanting to please our guru, and or at least for some of us, right? I would imagine that should be the. I guess maybe that's the only way I can imagine it, is with the focus of pleasing guru. But I don't know. That's what I think, is that those are different types of affection, and that it's a way of kind of reaching out to each other, and we've been given a whole new dimension in that with these developing these divine feelings towards each other, right? I mean, when people have that feeling, or I guess in the normal world, like regular people, this love of friendship, and especially I think towards man and woman is like the greatest type of intimacy that they could have, right? Physically, emotionally, however it is, that's the greatest type of intimacy that they can have. But I feel like, what, by involving divinity, it's a completely different level of spiritual intimacy. Does that make sense? Is it totally weird? It's the gesture.
One thing if I can ask, are you saying this from your own experience, or are you saying this from your contemplation or imagination of how this is supposed to be?
I think both, right? I think because definitely when I first came, when I think about even some of the things that impress us, right? I mean, between all of us here, right? I mean, let's start with Pankaj Uncle and Harshanti, right? They're generally, I always kind of think of them like, oh, welcome committee, right? Like when you come to satsang, who's the first kind of people that you're going to meet? It's going to be Pankaj Uncle and Harshanti. And the gestures that they make with like keeping their house open, always being available, kind of going out of the way. I think of Ketanbai will go out of his way for anybody, right? I mean, him and Pinky Bobby do the types of seva that you can't even really talk about, right? They're not like open types of seva. And just, they're very personal. But it's very much a type of affection that I wouldn't expect from any of my family members, right? I mean, it's very different, and it's very special. And it creates definitely, a different type of bond and a different type of openness than I think would, I wouldn't call it, I don't know, sure, can I say that, could I use the term love? Okay, but I wouldn't really call it that. I feel like it's definitely on a different, I don't know, it's emotional even connection there, but it's different. It's on a different plane from the way I think of it. But it's one of those things that struck me. And I can tell even, for years, right, I wasn't in like a real workplace, right, working with at Suppenbai's office, right? Now I'm in like a different office with Zurich, and kind of even just putting in like a few of those kind of, satsang qualities to work, it impresses people. And it's not, and when I say impress, I mean, it makes that kind of impression upon them. That it's a way of showing some sort of care or affection that has nothing to do with, with some sort of expectation, or, it's just a way of caring for another human being. I don't know if that made any sense, but that's my perspective. So that's from noticing it from all of you, from seeing it, the little bit that I have tried, and then, I think it's definitely, I've definitely given the topic some thought, like what is, the role or whatever of love, because I don't know, we talk about it a lot, or people talk about it a lot, but I always think, one of those things, one of those Papu phrases, right? God is not, well, love is God, but God is not love. Because a lot of different religions think, oh, that's the highest thing, you just love everybody, and that's godliness. I don't, I didn't really accept that, but that's, that seems to be one of those things that a lot of people talk about. And when I say a lot of people, it's, I think specifically about my own family members that, oh, if you're a good person or if you just love everybody, I don't think that's the ultimate. And I think with, I don't know, I feel like I've seen that and seen differently, that there's higher qualities of divinity than love. Sajanand Swarmanajani Jai.
One question that when this topic came, how did you find Panchara 3?
I have read that a lot of times. About
Before?
Yeah, when Bhagwan talks about love.
Okay.
There's the same thing in the what I was talking about was in I don't know the name of the Vachnamrut that Maharaj કહે છે કે આ ગુણને લીધે કે આ વસ્તુને લીધે તમે જો ભગવાન એટલે એમાં મહારાજ ઓલો દાખલો આપે છે સામનો ને સામ અને કૃષ્ણ ભગવાનનો કે there was this comparison that Maharaj gives that all the gopis and all the ladies were attracted to God because he was handsome, and then grandson, right? Sam, ભગવાનના grandson હતા કૃષ્ણ ભગવાનના સામ કરીને જે એમના કેમના ભાઈના દીકરા હતા કેવું કંઈક હતું.
I think Sam was his own son,
His
Krishna
son,
Bhagwan
yeah.
Madhika.
And he was young and he was very handsome too, and everybody started loving him. So he says that, look, this is my Maya.
Well, anybody else wants to share anything? Well, it was a good discussion.